with you, there's no one else around. Yeah, I'm so high, gravity can't hold me down. Imagine faith and hope so alive. You got me feeling so good, 'cause baby, you're like the sun flying high on a blue sky, shining bright into the night. The stars sparkling down, yeah, diamonds and gold can't compare to your world. It's somewhere far beyond heaven and earth. When I hold you, I'm high above the clouds. Yeah, I'm so free that I don't think I'm ever coming down. Imagine faith and hope so alive. You got me feeling so good, 'cause baby, you're like the sun flying high on a blue sky, shining bright into the night. The stars sparkling down, yeah, diamonds and gold can't compare to your world. It's somewhere far beyond heaven and earth.
Welcome to Me, Myself, and Liberty. I'm Leslie Nesmith, and today I have an exciting guest. Kevin Calvey is joining us. He is the Oklahoma County Commissioner, District 3, and he's been in the news somewhat lately about the jail trust. So we're going to talk about that and get all of the lowdown on what happened there and what's to be expected in the future. Also, if you would like to support OTU Media and everything that we do, please go to www.patreon.com/OTUmedia, and you can support us there. Every dollar helps. I know I say this every week, but we have a battle we are fighting right now for the conservative cause. We have an election coming up in 2020, very important. So every dollar helps us get the word out there. All right, join us in just a minute when I speak with Kevin Calvey.
Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here. Are you tired of Big Mobile making deals with dirty DC politicians to amplify liberals and silence conservatives like you? Do you want the same quality of service that you get from your current provider without supporting leftist, anti-American subversives like Kendra Horn and Nancy Pelosi? Well, Patriot Mobile can help you, and they can make a great deal. Ask what Patriot Mobile can do for you, and ask what Patriot Mobile can do for your country. Call Patriot Mobile today at 877-367-7524. 877-367-7524. Be a patriot. Join Patriot Mobile.
Welcome back to Me, Myself, and Liberty. And as you can see, we have Commissioner Kevin Calvey with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you bet. Call me Kevin, please.
All right, Kevin. Okay, so I always research my guests. Of course, you and I have known each other for a little while, but I always get to digging in people's background to see what do I not know about them. And there were some interesting things about you. So I'll get to those in a minute. Now that I have him on camera. No, just kidding. Nothing like that. Okay, so you have, most interestingly, you have 6 kids.
Yes.
And one more on the way.
Yes, we're expecting number 7.
That is exciting. Congratulations.
Very exciting. We're very blessed.
I am in the 6 kid club, and I'm staying there. There will be no more.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
No more for me.
That's very good too. So.
But I have my oldest, so I keep hoping, he's married, and I keep thinking, well, maybe, we'll have a grandchild
There
one
you
day,
go. There
but
you
we'll
go.
see. We'll see what happens there. Okay, so you're also a veteran.
Yes.
In Iraq War specifically, what I want to talk about. You joined the military at the age of 37?
Yes, I did.
I did not know that. How did I not know that?
I don't know.
I get the feeling
Yeah.
everybody else knew.
No. Yeah, I was really kind of too old to be doing that sort of thing. I had to get an age waiver, but it was right at the beginning of the Iraq War. I literally went to the recruiting office the day after our troops got into Baghdad, when I was a child, the Vietnam War ended, and I still remember from that time that there was concern about some people who had money would go to college and keep going to college and keep going to college to avoid being drafted, and those who couldn't afford it, had to go. Now, of course, many people also volunteered, and I have friends who, volunteered to serve in Iraq as well. But many people, that's just kind of struck me as a raw deal. You shouldn't try to get out of serving your country, and you shouldn't be allowed to do so just because you have money and others don't. I just always thought that was a bad deal, so I always had it in my mind that if we were ever at war again, that I would do my part. Well, the only war that occurred before the Iraq War was the Persian Gulf War. That was over 30 days, so I didn't even time to get in. But it was clear we were going to be in Iraq for a while, so I went down and applied for a commission in the Army National Guard, and was accepted and commissioned, and was deployed to Baghdad, and a couple years later, and turned 41 when I was over there. A little older than most people I served with.
Just crazy. I think about my brother retired when he was 40 in the Army.
So I was like 15 years older than most people I was serving with, and it was a little more challenging, at an older age, and wearing body armor. 5 days a week, not every day, but fairly frequently, and we did missions outside the wire. Very unusual for somebody in my MOS as a JAG. Usually JAGs are back on the base. I was going forward deployed into a hostile fire zone, and not what I thought I'd be doing, practicing law at age 41. With a loaded 9mm pistol strapped to my thigh. But it was a great experience. I was very privileged to serve with some of the best people I've ever met in the world. And I wouldn't trade the experience for anything. If I'd have been single when I went over there, I'd have just extended and extended. As much as I loved doing what I did, my mission, got to work with a lot of high-speed people, special ops units, FBI, that kind of stuff. But as much as I loved it, I love my wife more. So
Good answer.
Yes,
Good
and
answer.
the right answer.
And you had to get to having 7 kids too.
Yes,
so
that's right.
You also were awarded the Bronze Star. Tell me about that.
I was. Well, that was just for the mission I did.
The mission, okay.
I was. So I was very honored by that. But we were able to figure out some ways to assist some of the special ops units in getting high-value detainees before the Iraqis in a better manner, and they appreciated that. So I was surprised and honored to be awarded that.
Yeah. Well, I definitely thank you for your service, especially going in at the age of 37.
Well, it's happy to do it, so.
Okay, so where did you grow up?
Oklahoma City.
Okay. Is this something... did you always want to go into politics and this type of...
No. I really didn't think about that until probably I was in law school. I went out of state for college and law school and then moved back. And the law school I went to was super liberal. It was Georgetown Law School in Washington, D.C. And, of course, Washington, D.C. is just uber liberal anyway.
Yeah.
And I just remember being so... repulsed by the attitudes that people had there, that it just kind of put into my mind that somebody, ought to try to go and, stop these people. And so I guess that sparked it. And then, a few years later, back here in home, practicing law, and had gotten to know some people, and was persuaded to make a run for the state legislature. So.
Yeah, okay. So now tell me about those two, what you did before being a county commissioner.
Okay, so sure. So I was just elected to the county commission this past year, took office this January 2nd of this year. So that's a relatively new thing for me. Before that, I actually served 2 different times in the state legislature, before and after Iraq. So like when I joined the Army, I was actually in the legislature at the time, and left, and that's when I went to serve a year in Iraq. And so I had served 8 years in the legislature while we Republicans were taking majority. I was part of the group that did that. So 6 of my 8 years, the first time, we were in the minority. The Democrats had control of both houses of the legislature. And then we took over, and I served 1 term in the majority then. And probably if I'd had the goal of extending political influence, I'd have just stayed there. But that really isn't my goal. And so I got out really at the top of my game, so to speak, back then. And then went to serve in Iraq. And then I was in the legislature for 8 years. And then I got kind of annoyed with some of the things that were going on there. So I ran again, and I moved to the other side of town, in a different district. My first district was Del City in southeast Oklahoma City, the only Republican ever to hold that seat. And then,
wow.
Ever in state history. And then I moved to the other side of town, where I represented for 4 years, basically far northwest Oklahoma City, Deer Creek, and West Edmond, and was privileged to serve those folks as well. So.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what exactly does a county commissioner do.
Sure.
All right. We'll be right back.
Another one drives a truck.
Visit cdluniversity.org.
At CDL University, and another success, another one drives a truck. Hey, gonna help you too, another one drives a truck.
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
What you are doing is if you've booked somebody into the facility for other charges, for other charges, and they are an illegal immigrant, ICE is notified.
Correct.
And that's the policy that's been done forever. And the reason this has become a recent issue is because of the new attention on it based upon the increased immigration enforcement by the federal government.
Correct. There are other agencies out there that are taking proactive steps to increase their numbers and efforts to assist ICE in deportation actions, and we're simply not one of those agencies.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
I have 2 questions. Sure. The first was, how many people have been held? And I know you probably don't know if they've been deported, but how many people have been held by ICE since the beginning of the year?
Okay, just to be clear, when we say held by ICE, the answer to that would be 0, because we are not holding for ICE, and we will not hold for ICE. We only hold people that are there on either municipal, due to a contract, or a state charge.
But the 48 hours that they put a hold on?
So they place a hold, they request that you put a hold on them for 48 hours, and we don't honor that hold.
All right.
Okay, we're back. And if you haven't done it yet, please tag your friends and share this because this is important information. We're getting ready to get into some things that you need to be aware of. Okay, so tell us, what exactly is it that you do?
Okay, so a county commissioner, basically there's 77 counties within Oklahoma. They're political subdivisions of the state, and each of those counties has 3 commissioners. So they divide the county up into 3 districts. So I am the District 3 Commissioner for Oklahoma County, the largest county in the state. So it's basically the north 1/3 of the county. So I've got all of Edmond, Deer Creek, the Village, Nichols Hills, Arcadia, and a big chunk of northwest Oklahoma City, and some of the rural areas, not only Deer Creek, but also east of Edmond. And what we do is the specific task for commissioners is to maintain county roads. So that's basically roads outside the incorporated areas, so outside city limits. So like the Deer Creek area and the area kind of north and east of Arcadia, we have the responsibility for the section line roads, the mile roads, as well as a few subdivisions, interior roads that are in those rural or unincorporated areas, I should say. So that's our specific duty. So I've got 27 people that work for me out of our yard, and that's what they do. They do all the road maintenance. The part that probably has been getting in the news more lately is that the county commission is the legislative body for the county. And so just like the state legislature is for the state, Congress is for the federal government, the county commission is that legislative body. So we set policy for the county, at least to the extent it doesn't apply or pertain to a separately elected official's office. So we can't set policy, for instance, for the county assessor or treasurer, the sheriff. We can't set policy for them. What we do have, though, is we actually have jurisdiction over the actual buildings and county property. And so there we have some influence in how to deal with things, as well as some statutory jurisdiction over certain things. For instance, while ordinarily in a county the sheriff will be responsible for the jail and its operations, state law allows a county to establish a public trust to operate the jail, and hire somebody else to operate the jail. Well, in Oklahoma County, it's no secret that our jail operations have been problematic, to put it mildly.
That was going to say, well, that was really
that was
nice.
Diplomatic,
It was problematic.
Train
We'll
wreck
say,
might be
problematic.
but-
People dead and being lost
Right,
and
right.
all that other stuff.
And it's gone on for a number of years, certainly at least since the immediate past sheriff, John Wetzel, was elected. And since 1995, the various grand jury, citizens commissions, and things like that, people from both parties and all that have called for the creation of a trust and or in most cases both, having a jail administrator, professional jail administrator. I mean, if you think about it, in a county the size of Oklahoma County, it's urban, almost all urban. By state law, every sheriff has to be a CLEAT certified law enforcement officer. I love cops. I mean, at one point when I was in Del City, I think half the police force or more were clients of mine. I worked with Army CID cops and FBI every day in Iraq. I love cops. But it's a different skill set to be a cop than running a jail.
Oh,
Running a jail
yeah.
is an administrative function. And
Totally, yeah.
So it really, when you boil down to it, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to marry those two inherently. In a rural county, you've got just a few cells and all that, it's pretty easy to administer, but a large, jail, the size of Oklahoma counties and all that makes a far less sense. And allowing for, there may be exceptions out there where that might work, just as a general rule, it makes about as much sense as having a city police chief also run the sewer department.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just two different things. And when you do that, and especially then if the city police chief had to run for office separately from the city councilman and the mayor, which you would inevitably have a tendency to do, just looking at it objectively, this doesn't matter who the sheriff is, where the tendency is going to be to want to peel off money from the less fun or less prestigious function.
Yeah.
If you were running the sewer department, you'd find ways to run the sewer department, and not just bare minimum what you have to do, and then use that to fund other things that were more interesting.
Yeah.
Being a police officer, certainly a fascinating job, very critical job, and we need great law enforcement, and I support that very strongly. But maybe you'd have excessive numbers of positions, and you'd kind of have mission creep and that.
There's so many things that could possibly go wrong.
Yeah. So and it appears to be what has happened for 25 years or so at the Oklahoma County Jail, is that the jail budget has been used to basically like an ATM machine to fund other things, and so that's going to be an inherent problem in that system. And then you add on, the prior sheriff was forced out of office under threat of indictment, John Wetzel, and then
Nothing to see here.
his right-hand guy, P.D. Taylor, in a special election got elected with 37% of the vote in the primary, I think it was. So you kind of had a continuation of that regime. There have been a few changes, kind of more or less window dressing things, but the basic problem there, has existed. And so, for instance, last full budget year, the sheriff's office got $50.3 million in their budget. Most of that's appropriation of county tax dollars, and they get about half of all the county budget. And then some of it, they get some statutory fees, from inmates and bonds and things like that. And then some of it, they get concession fees from certain vendors, especially the phone contract. So all those sources together, $50.3 million. Well, an audit by MGT, it's a nationwide company that audits jails and prisons all over, showed that they were spending $31.1 million on the jail. And that includes a proportionate share of the sheriff's salary, undersheriff, all that. Well, $50.3 million minus $31.1 million is $19.2 million. And for other non-jail functions. Well, the main function of the sheriff's office, outside of running the jail, is to provide law enforcement for the unincorporated parts of the county. A very critical function. But there's only 19,000 people that live in the unincorporated areas. So $19.2 million to serve 19,000 people, that's far more than you need. We want vigorous enforcement in the unincorporated areas, and we'll certainly, I will always support that. But you don't need $19.2 million to do it. So it's clear that they were not spending enough on the jail and spending more on other things.
So where was that? Where was that going? Where was that money going?
We still some ideas on it. But, we'll see how that what gets uncovered. So.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hi, I'm Leslie Nesmith, host of Me, Myself, and Liberty right here on OTU Media. I'd like to ask you to go to www.patreon.com/OTU Media to support us. By going to patreon.com, you are supporting everything that we do here at OTU Media and Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite. We are getting the word out, so join us. We're back with Kevin Calvey, and you were just telling us some interesting things. So on the break, you're kind of talking about the money aspect. So let's share that with the audience.
Okay, sure. Well, just go over the numbers again.
Yeah.
The last full budget year for which we had figures was 2017-18 year, and at that point, the sheriff's office got $50.3 million from various sources, mostly your tax dollars, property tax dollars, to operate their function. And then a jail audit by MGT, a nationwide company that does this all over the country, including many places in Oklahoma, said that they were only spending $31.1 million of their budget on the jail. That leaves 50.3 minus 31.1 million leaves 19.2 million to do the other function of the sheriff's office. The primary function of which is to provide law enforcement in the unincorporated parts of the county. It's basically the rural parts outside the city limits. But there's only 19,000 people that live in those unincorporated areas. Now, they do have some other functions. They have a warrant team. They have 4 people that go out and serve warrants issued by judges. They do guard the courthouse. They say they got 34 people guarding the courthouse. That surprises me. I've never seen that many people.
Wow.
And don't get me wrong, not saying these functions aren't necessary, but it seems like an excessive amount of money to do. They say that for months they were saying they have 110 employees outside the jail. Well, 19.2 million divided by 110, that's 180,000 per employee.
Wow, I'm in the wrong business, I guess.
Yeah, and they're not paying the people anywhere near that much. They're not even paying them half that much. So there's just a lot of unanswered questions about where that money is really being spent. And so that's a matter that should be of concern to everybody, no matter. I mean, this is something that I think unites, political liberals, conservatives, and everybody in between. Really, are you fiscally prudent? I mean, and getting to the bottom of that and answering those questions is very critical. Now, what's interesting is that MGT audit I mentioned that showed they were spending $31.1 million. Well, if you ask the Sheriff's Department about that now, they'll just see red and they get angry about it. But what's ironic is they were the ones that brought that to our attention. They were actually bragging about this a few months ago, and the context was we were negotiating, the county negotiates a memorandum of understanding, MOU, contract, with the municipalities in the county to house inmates who are charged only with municipal crimes. So like say the city of Oklahoma City is the biggest one. If they arrest somebody for something that's a municipal crime for which the fine revenue will go to the city, then they have to pay us a per diem rate for the jail housing their inmate. And so we're negotiating this, and I was like, it didn't seem like Oklahoma City was paying us enough. Tulsa County gets a much higher rate per day. And so I asked the sheriff's office, I said, because Oklahoma City was saying, well, that's all you're spending on the jail. I was like, I think we're probably spending more than that. Surely we are. And so I asked the sheriff's office for evidence of how much they were spending in the jail. And they sent me this audit. And they were proud of it at that time. And then all of a sudden, when I started running the numbers, which is pretty obvious, and I started asking these questions, then all of a sudden, no, that audit's no good. So it's a little bit of picking and choosing.
Yeah, there's a reason that that this change was needed. So
yes, and I'm going to hazard a guess that's what you're going to ask me about.
Yes, actually I was. So I'll let you just go ahead and keep talking.
So because of this and many other issues, I mean, I get some of the most tear-jerking emails from people who have relatives in the jail.
Yeah.
Talking about
I've heard
some
stories.
Of the problems and all that. And I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting that everything that somebody alleges going on in jail is accurate. I mean, there's going to be,
maybe a lot of it.
Well, we actually send people in to check on people, some of our staff, and we are able to verify some of it, not all of it. Some of it we're able to disprove as well. So I want to be objective about it, but there are clearly problems with treatment of inmates in the jail, and we have many. By the way, I want to add we have many very dedicated people that work in the jail. My criticisms of what's going on there are not directed at them. In fact, I have said publicly many, many times that when we go to this shift, that the employees need to be able to get the same retirement health benefits that they have and the same kind of job security they had before we change who runs the jail. And so back up a sec. Because of these problems and all that, I made a motion at the Board of County Commissioners. Initially worked with the county and cities combined criminal justice advisory committee, the one headed by Clay Bennett, of which I'm the member, the representative from the county commission, and with their support made a motion before the Board of County Commissioners to establish a public trust, mentioned before, and that would take control of the jail eventually.
Yeah.
And so we did that. It passed by unanimous vote on the Board of County Commissioners. The Sheriff's Office opposed it. They even sent uniformed deputies out campaigning door to door against it, which I've got the pictures because they posted their pictures of them doing it on Facebook.
It was like caricature. Like I'm thinking of, I have these like political cartoons like suddenly in my head. It's just
I don't see how that's appropriate to uniformed deputies out politicking, but
okay.
So anyway, it passed, and then the trust was formed. There are 9 trustees. By state law, you have to have one and only one commissioner. I am that commissioner. The sheriff has to be a member, and then the other members cannot be office holders. So there are 7 other trustees, and it's actually a great group of people. It's certainly bipartisan, and diverse in the best sense of that word, and so that body, one of the tasks was to decide how are we going to operate the jail going forward. Well, that trust was formed in May, first started meeting in June, and then just this past Monday on the trust by a vote of 6-2 with 1 absent.
6-2. I wonder who the 2 were that didn't. Or who voted nay?
Well, the sheriff was one for sure. But we voted to set on a path where eventually we would turn over the operations of the jail to a jail administrator hired by the trust and answerable to the trust, no longer to the sheriff. So basically, the sheriff will not be running the jail. We haven't set a deadline on it. Everything else being equal, I'd rather be sooner than later, but I do respect the fact that there needs to be a proper handoff and a transition period and all that. So it's not going to be next month or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it will happen. It's set there, and the sheriff is not happy, but that's too bad. I mean, there's been ample. He was the right hand guy at the sheriff's office before he took office as the sheriff for 14 years, and then he's been sheriff now for a little over 2 years, and there's plenty of opportunity to turn things around, but it hasn't gotten done. And some of the big things that stand out, in addition to the money thing, in just treatment of inmates, And I know sometimes it's sometimes we conservatives can say, well, it's just people that they're bad guys,
jail.
and but first of all, jail is not prison.
That's right.
Okay, jail is for people who are awaiting trial, who there's been a decision that even though they have not had their day in court yet, they haven't been convicted, legally they are innocent, right? We have innocent until proven guilty in our country. It's a constitutional right. Very important one. And that we don't just do like in Casablanca, round up the usual suspects. That's not America, whether you're liberal or conservative or whatever. And so 80%, there's a small percentage of people in the jail that were actually sentenced to some time in jail. There's some that are awaiting, they've been convicted, and they're awaiting pickup by state Department of Corrections to go to prison. But 80% of the people in the jail haven't been to trial yet. They're legally innocent. And some of them will never be convicted. Some of them will be found innocent and gone there.
Yeah.
So I think we owe it to them to treat them humanely. I think we probably, not probably, we owe a duty to treat people humanely, even who are convicted in prison. But especially, even more so in jail. You can go to jail in Oklahoma City if you have peeling paint on your house. Did you know that? Or a crack in your window.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, the city of Oklahoma City has an exterior property maintenance code. And if somebody violates that, I've seen it. I do some real estate law in my law practice. I've had tearful widows come to me and say, they said, I got a crack in my window, and they mailed me this thing, just regular mail, a summons to the city court, and then it said if you don't make it, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. And I didn't get the piece of mail. Yeah. And now
so then they're afraid
a warrant's issued for my arrest, or I was on vacation, I didn't get it, whatever.
Yeah.
So a warrant's issued for your arrest. So you can go to jail for an unpaid parking ticket. You can go to jail for now.
That's crazy.
Let me say this. I want to give some kudos to a couple people. We have actually brought the jail population down tremendously, about 40% in the last 2 years in Oklahoma County.
Wow.
I want to single out two people, especially for us. Many people who've contributed to this, but Judge Cindy Trong has been willing to go into the jail and do bond hearings on people. Part of the problem in the past has been, they just arrest everybody and then they go to jail. Well, you can bond out. Well, for us, we probably we scrape out the money and bond out if something happened. But for a poor person, I mean, you get a $1,000 bond, that might as well be $100,000.
Yeah,
they can't get that kind of money, so they languish in jail, oftentimes for fairly minor offenses. Again, I'm not talking about violent offenders. Violent offenders need to be in jail, even awaiting trial. But those,
paint peeling and all that other business,
right? Or speeding tickets, failure to appear in court,
parking ticket,
shoplifting. I mean, they need to be punished. Okay, crimes deserve to be enforced, but jail isn't the best way. So people are lingering in jail because they're just too poor to bond out.
Yeah.
And sometimes people say conservatives don't care about the poor and all that. Oh no, I do.
Not
and I don't
true.
want the poor having to be oppressed by government any more than I want business owners and stuff being oppressed by government. And that's very important to me, and I would hope to all conservatives. And so by going into the jail, Judge Trong was able to hold hearings to see, are these people, if they're not violent, maybe we should just release them on their own recognizance, an OR bond. And so that's brought the population down. And I want to single out also, the second person is the until recently was the police chief in Oklahoma City, Bill City. And Chief City started a policy of cite and release rather than taking everybody down to jail. So if they saw somebody committing an offense that wasn't a violent one, just give you a ticket and you can show up in court later rather than clog up the jail with minor offenses. So those two things brought the population down, and it was great for our whole community. Those two people deserve great credit. Anyway, it's all good.
All right.
So.
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
Welcome back to Me, Myself, and Liberty. All right, so you have some things you want to make sure that we get out there to the public. So what tell us about?
Yeah, well first of all, we kind of digressed a bit to thank Judge Strong and former Police Chief Bill City for helping bring down the population jail cell. But we kind of digressed from the kind of the history of where we got to things. So the Board of County Commissioners, we passed the jail trust, and the trust voted just this past Monday, historic vote that they're going to take away operation of the jail from the sheriff. And that is huge. That's something that people have been requesting, grand juries, citizens commissions, since 1995. I mean, bipartisan deals and all
crazy.
That. And it just always was defeated by the sheriff's office. All those years, the kind of political machine. And you finally had a group of people that were willing to not cave in to that. Now, I want to single out one of my fellow commissioners, Brian Mon. Brian's been on the commission now for 10 years, I guess, 10, 11. And he was the first one really willing to go in and kind of ask questions and push back a little. And so he has great courage and integrity, and we all owe Commissioner Brian Mon a great debt of thanks. So, because of the Open Meetings Act, he says you can't discuss public business with a majority on a public body, and there's only 3 commissioners. I can't even talk to Brian, because it could be construed, even if not accurately, as a violation of the Open Meetings Act. But I'm happy to praise him, and he deserves it very much so. He was kind of the pioneer. And then, a couple years ago, we had some other conservatives elected to county office who have been asking those kind of questions. David Hooten, who's our county clerk, and Rick Warren, who is our court clerk. And then one of the then existing public officials also started asking those questions. Former County Assessor Leonard Sullivan, carried on by his successor, his then Chief Deputy, now successor, our current County Assessor Larry Stein. So those people have been, helping to advance this question of restoring some fiscal accountability to the operation of the jail. And so I want to point them out for great credit. I mentioned Judge Strong earlier about helping to bring the population down. There's other judges, Judge Henderson and Judge McCrae and others who have been assisting in that effort. And then the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee, Clay Bennett and Tony Tyler and many of these folks, some of them are not maybe as conservative as you and I, but they're good folks and good people. They're not playing the liberals or anything either.
Yeah.
But they are just absolutely stellar citizens and have recognized where change needed to happen and we're willing to have this going forward. And then of course the fellow trustees, Tricia Everest, who is an attorney and a former assistant attorney general. Yeah. And now heads up a great nonprofit called Palomar that assists victims of domestic violence,
Mm-hmm.
and just a stellar, community philanthropist. And she is our chairman. Oh, and she's also, after she got appointed our chairman, she became also the assistant secretary for public safety for the state.
Oh, okay.
With Governor
Yeah.
Stitt. So Chairman Everest is doing a great job there. We've got Jim Couch, who's a former city manager
Mm-hmm.
of Oklahoma City. Just a wealth of knowledge about all kinds of things. M.T. Barry, who's a former city police chief and then assistant city manager for many years. Great.
What a great group of
solid
people.
person. Absolutely. Former Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb, who was my appointee to the commission. Can't say enough good about Todd. He's great. And then former state senator and former deputy director of mental health, Ben Brown, who is as liberal as I am conservative, but we look at a lot of issues involving criminal justice reform and all that in a similar way. And then Francie Ekwegru, who is a attorney, also works for the Education and Employment Ministry team, and also at one point was working with the Public Defender's Office, and she's brought absolutely great perspective from the standpoint of somebody who's actually representing people, in the jail, and bringing more of that perspective into it, and just the wealth of knowledge that she has. So it's a great group of folks. Then there's the sheriff. Okay, we'll just leave that one alone. But so we have a great group, and I'm trying to think. Almost forgot. Sue Arnall is also she's become a good friend. She's a little bit more on the liberal side of things as well, but she's also a very savvy business person and philanthropist, and is great on. She's got a heart to really help people and serve them, and has some just fantastic ideas on how best to cost efficiently help some of the neediest in our community. She's spearheading now this idea of the diversion hub, which would be a way for people who are maybe arrested or at risk of going to jail to get services all in kind of one place.
Yeah.
Especially people with transportation challenges and all that. And I think it's a great idea.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
So I greatly applaud her for her efforts, and she's the one that actually made the motion that we moved to a jail administrator. And so just a great group of people. I'm very honored to serve with my fellow trustees, and this was a historic day. We got a lot of work, ahead of us. Again, it'll be at least a few months before we can actually turn over the keys. But
Yeah.
we'll be advertising to hire a jail administrator coming up. That's the next step. And
Interesting.
And all that, so, yes.
So what would be the so for the person that you're looking for, what are kind of the qualifiers? What are you guys looking for? I'm not looking to apply. I'm just wondering. I have no interest.
I think what you're looking for is somebody who's a professional, a corrections professional.
Yes.
And who's going to focus on it. I mean, again, part of the problem all these years has been somebody who had a mixed focus and who really didn't want to be running the jail so much as doing the non-jail functions, the law enforcement functions. I mean, ask yourself. Think about this for just a second. You're a cop, okay? That's what you're trained to do, okay? And you want to protect the public and be out there doing that. And why would you want to run a jail? I mean, I've asked that to many people. Why would the sheriff want to run the jail?
Why? Well, why?
Because all it is bad press.
Yeah.
And all that. So why would you want to do it? Well, if that's your ATM machine, then that answers that question.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And maybe a source of campaign workers and all that kind of stuff. There's stories in the past under John Wetzel, they were using inmates to actually make campaign signs and stuff like that. I mean, it's been one of these things, just a scandal in plain sight.
Yeah.
It's just gone on for a long time. And that's why I ran for this office. I didn't run for this office because I thought the road maintenance side of things was not going well. No, my predecessor, did a great job, and the road crew. I got the same guys working for me then as worked before then. They're doing a great job. We're always looking at ways to improve. But that was going well, is going well, and will continue to go well. And devoting the time to making sure that goes well going forward. I ran for this office because the big problem in the county is the county jail.
Yeah.
No question about it. And so it was fairly evident to me kind of what the source of the problem was, this divided focus thing. And so getting this trust, my staff and I, I'll praise them too. Miles Davidson, who's my chief deputy, Jane Laram, who's my policy director for criminal justice, and then Gabriel Van Ness, who's like constituent relations. We've really, I mean, I knew everybody kind of before I took office, but they didn't know each other. We've gelled into just a fantastic team. I really, my staff, they carry me. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
It's great. And we, but it was fairly obvious what the problem was, and just we're astounded just sitting around with how much progress has been made just in a short. I've been in office 8 months.
I know you've made so much progress.
Well,
it's
again,
just nuts.
it's a lot of different people pulling the same oars, and none of this, by the way.
And it's bipartisan. That's one of the things that I just we can work together, people. We can do it.
And I'm glad you said that, because I do want to bring that up, and if you want to do it now or in the next segment. But,
okay, so let's do it in the next segment, because I want to talk about that, and then what's next. Okay, we'll be right back.
Hello, basket of deplorables, ladies, gentlemen, those who are undecided. Todd Tucker back at the bunker, where I belong. And we want you to join us here at OTU Media. Become a patron, a Patreon member. If you want true conservative messaging and not the same old corporate filtered news of Oklahoma, this is the place to be. Become a supporter, a soldier, a sergeant, a co-producer, even a sponsor. True conservatism lives here at OTU Media. Go to patreon.com/OTU Media, patreon.com/OTU Media. This is where conservatism lives, and the fight is just beginning.
Thank you for joining us today. I want to remind you to go to patreon.com/OTU Media to support our programs here. I can't say it enough. Every dollar that you help us with will go to good use. Also, like my page. I have a page. It's Me, Myself, and Liberty. If you could like my page, I'd appreciate that. I'm always open to show ideas. And if you have somebody that you think I should have on as a guest, let me know. All right, I will see you next week.